Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog. Tottenham returned to winning ways in the Premier League yesterday with a 3-2 victory away to West Ham United. Today I'm going to be talking about all the key points of that game, including the tactical tweaks from Jose Mourinho that turned our fortunes around, plus the goals and some big talking points from that game. Now before I get into that video, if you do want more videos like this, plus breaking news videos, interactive live streams and my transfer talk feature, which will be back up and running next week, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button below. So diving straight into things, it was, of course, brilliant to get our first away win since in the Premier League since January. It was a stat that's really been nipping away at us, and it's obviously a massive confidence boost to get that. But I think the most important thing to take from this game is the 3 points. And I know it sounds a bit weird to say it, but I think it does need to be pointed out because a lot of the attention from this one has been on getting our first away win, and with regards to the media, it's been on Jose Mourinho and his return to English football, which is something I'll be getting onto a bit later in the video. But it was an absolutely massive 3 points for us. You know, there was, of course, we started that game in 14th place, and when we went 3-0 up, that had actually put us up into 5th place above Sheffield United and Arsenal on goal difference. But, you know, with the way things have worked out this weekend, and of course the 2 goals that West Ham got back, we're sitting in 10th at the moment. But we saw an immediate change in the performance. The starting lineup was really similar to what we have become used to with the time Pochettino spent at the club. It was a 4-2-3-1. Maybe Ben Davies and Eric Dyer being a few inclusions that we don't usually see from Mauricio Pochettino, and Lucas Moura, of course, getting a start that he very much deserved. And I think it's something we're going to see quite a bit from Jose Mourinho, Eric Dyer starting in the middle of the park. We know he was a big fan of him when he was at Man United, and he actually attempted to bring Dyer to United during his time there. And he's certainly going to utilise Eric Dyer over the coming years. Now, the main tactical tweak that we saw in this one was something that I think was really, really interesting, and it was to do with the fullbacks. Now, early on in the game, I was getting a bit frustrated that we weren't seeing much attacking intent from Ben Davies. A lot of the time, like Heung-min Son had the ball down the left, and it was Harry Winks coming across to try and help him out, or Dele Alli coming out of the middle as well. And I was thinking, that's why Danny Rose gets the starts over Ben Davies, because he is a lot better at attacking, playing that attacking sort of style, and he's, I would say, better defensively as well, but mainly that sort of attacking intent that Rose does show. But as the first half wore on, it kind of became obvious that it was a really strange sort of tactical thing from Jose Mourinho. Now, we know Ben Davies, he is mainly a left back and he can play left wing back as well, but he has been known to play as a left centre back in a 3 at the back. And even though it was a 4-2-3-1 yesterday, he played in that left centre back role quite a bit, and it allowed Serge Aurier to push on way further up the pitch than he usually would, because Aurier, he's not the strongest defender, and that has been one of my main criticisms of him during his time at Tottenham. But it was sort of a kind of a Jose Mourinho version of what we had in the 2016-17 season. When Dyer and Dembele were the 2 players playing in the middle of the park, and we had Rose and Walker really pushing on either side, and Dyer dropped back in between Alderweireld and Vertonghen and made it a 3 at the back, allowing the defenders to push on. And then when we were defending, it would come back to 4 at the back, and Dyer would sit in front with Dembele. And it was a really interesting sort of tweak on that. And it was Ben Davies dropping back as the third centre back, with Serge Aurier pushing really far on down the right hand side, which of course turned out to be very useful for us, with him getting the assist for the 3rd goal. And it's straight away a genius move from Jose Mourinho, because the right back position is, I would say, our weakest position this season. Juan Foyth and Walker Peters, they both had a few starts each, and they didn't really show what we would like to have seen from them. And Serge Aurier, the rash player that he is, a lot of us not really wanting him in the team. But this could be a really useful way to actually sort that problem out, because he's not really needed much defensively, because there is that 3 at the back. And I thought it was a very, very clever thing from Jose Mourinho, and I think it may show that he's been looking at this job for a lot longer than the 3 weeks that we have been hearing he was in talks with Tottenham for. But it was just a really clever thing, and obviously it worked out so well for us. Now, the second thing that we saw was something that became synonymous of Pochettino's Tottenham, was the trio that plays behind the striker, the freedom of movement when they're all roaming around, and you never know who's going to pop up where. Mainly Son, Lucas and Lamela, the wingers, will be swapping sides the whole time. And Mourinho put a stop to that straight away, and it was Son on the left, Lucas on the right, and Dele Alli in the middle. It was really simplifying things, bringing it right back down to the basics. But it worked so well, because everyone knew where their teammates were going to be at all times. And granted, we were helped a lot by the really poor defensive performance from West Ham, with players like Declan Rice and Mark Noble playing in the holding midfield positions for West Ham. They're absolutely dreadful. for the majority of that game, and that did allow Dele Alli to get a lot more space, which played a big part in his outstanding performance. But not to take anything away from him, Dele Alli was undoubtedly my man of the match yesterday. He was absolutely sensational. He was finding space, he was picking out the passes. Obviously got the assist for Son for the first goal, and the genius bit of play to keep it in play for our second goal as well. It was a Dele Alli that really made his name at Tottenham Hotspur, and it was brilliant to see him back, and hopefully he can keep that run going. But I do think that had a lot to do with the simplifying what was going on behind the striker, and the three of them having their job. Look, you stay out there, Son stay on the left, Lucas on the right, and Ali just do your thing in the middle, and it really worked out for us. The third thing also had to do with Dele Alli, and it was making those late runs into the box and moving beyond Harry Kane, which again was something that he did so well in those early seasons at Tottenham, and it played a big part in his goal scoring form as well. I mean, there was one season there, I think he had 18 Premier League goals as a midfielder. He was actually levelled with Zlatan Ibrahimovic that season, which is absolutely ridiculous to think about. But that was straight back in his game, straight away. And a lot of people have been saying, you know, that performance yesterday shows Tottenham weren't playing for Mauricio Pochettino, but we know that wasn't the case with Dele Alli. It was nothing to do with any breakdown in relationship with Pochettino. You know, he was the first one to speak out on social media thanking Pochettino for what he did for him. It was just these slight tactical tweaks that have really turned things around. And another thing I really liked was Kane wasn't dropping deep as much as he does. Now again, a lot of that is to do with the improved performances behind him. He doesn't feel the need to drop back and kind of pull the strings himself, because the players that were there were doing it for him, and it allowed him to stay more advanced, and he got a goal. That's something he's been struggling to do in the Premier League this season. But it was just really kind of simple things that, apart from that defensive thing, it was really simple things that Mourinho brought back into our game, and it has certainly worked out for us straight away. And you know, it's when it is something so simple, it's literally bringing things right back to basics and putting players in exact positions rather than having a freedom of movement. It's really difficult for teams to counteract that, because they'll always be looking out for these kind of genius things from Mourinho. The tactics that it's kind of hard to see are happening, and Mourinho is a man who's certainly known for that. That's what they'd be looking for, and they'd be forgetting about these really basic things that worked a treat for us yesterday. Now, moving on to the goals, there was a lot of quality from our point of view in the goals that we scored. The first one, it was really simple. There obviously was quality in the passes that were picked out, but it was way too easy for us to open up West Ham. I think Eric Dyer or Ben Davis had the ball in the middle of the park and just zipped a pass straight through the West Ham midfield to Dele Alli, and he was standing in between the back four and the midfield too, and he had acres of space. He had time to turn. Son made the run past Ogbonna. It was absolutely dreadful defending from West Ham. I mean, Declan Rice and Mark Noble, as I mentioned, were absolutely pathetic in their performance yesterday, and Dele Alli really did take advantage of that, finding those pockets of space. And he turned and picked out the right pass to Heung-min Son, who faced up Ogbonna, a good step over, brought it onto his left foot. It wasn't a great finish. It crossed the line very centrally, and the West Ham goalkeeper, Roberto, not for the first time in the last couple of weeks, a really embarrassing performance from him. I think he should probably have saved that first shot, but it was good movement, it was good positioning, and good link-up play from our point of view to actually take advantage of the mistake that West Ham did make. Moving on to the second goal, it was almost a counter-attack. It wasn't a kind of typical counter-attack in that West Ham had everybody pushed upfield, but we won the ball back in our half, and it was lightning pace. We broke forward. A good back heel from Son into Eric Dyer. Dyer zipped the ball to Dele Alli out in the left wing, and Ali, it was just absolutely amazing from him. I still don't know how he actually managed to put it off, but when he got the ball into his feet, I think he tripped over his own legs and he was falling kind of off the pitch, and the ball was rolling out after him, and he somehow with his right foot kind of under his left foot managed to flick it back into the path of Heung-min Son. And you could see Mourinho's appreciation as soon as that actually happened, before any goal occurred. Mourinho applauding Dele Alli for it. Son running down the left hand side, and again he knew exactly where Lucas was going to be because he was playing on the right, he wasn't moving around the place. Son on his left foot running at pace, a brilliant ball in behind the West Ham defence, and Lucas getting around the wrong side of Aaron Cresswell. I think they both got a foot in it, but Lucas is going to claim it and I'm sure he'll get it. But again, from a West Ham point of view, it was so soft from Cresswell. He didn't know at all where Lucas Moura was, and Lucas just managed to get that foot around outside him and bundle the ball into the net. And we were 2-0 up in that first half, and we were cruising, and it was I wouldn't say it was simple because there was a lot of effort put in from the players, but we made it look a lot easier than it was. And even though West Ham were quite poor, I think we did play a big part in that. Now moving on to the third goal, got that free kick in the middle of the park. A bit of frustration there, thinking that maybe we should have got the advantage, because when Ogbonna fouled Harry Kane, the ball went into Dele Alli's path and he was in on goal. But a bit of frustration from Ali kind of giving out to the ref. But straight away, mind back in the game, Harry Kane took the quick free kick into Ali. And to be fair to West Ham, they did reset pretty quickly. But then the ball coming back out to Winks. And something that we have seen from Winks quite a bit in his few years in the first team, picking up the ball in the middle of the park and spraying it out right. It happened a lot when Kieran Trippier was there. I remember when we beat Real Madrid at Wembley. That was a really good channel for us. Winks spraying the ball out to Trippier and him whipping it in behind. I think we actually got one of our goals with Dele Alli from that. But a good ball out to Serge Aurier, and Aurier whipped it in, an amazing cross into the back post, and Harry Kane won the header, and we're 3-0 up after 50 minutes. And again, from the West Ham point of view, Robert Snodgrass not tracking Aurier at all. Ogbonna, not much effort to win the header. I don't think he actually left the ground in his attempt to win it. And it was a good header from Harry Kane into the ground, but it was quite central, and Roberto got a hand to it and had just no strength in it at all and couldn't keep it out. So good quality and good play from us, but dreadful defending from West Ham. And I think from then, we kind of felt as though we might go on and get another one, and it was going to be a really comfortable victory and a brilliant start to Mourinho's time at the club. But the change, the sub that I think changed the game was Mikel Antonio coming on at half time. And even before we got that goal, he was causing problems for us. His strength, Davinson Sanchez could barely deal with him. And it's really confusing as to why West Ham didn't start with him, because he only played 45 minutes and he was by miles their best player on the park, and he caused more problems for our defence than any other player. And he was the one who got that first goal back for West Ham. We kind of failed to clear the ball after a little scramble in the box, but in the end, when the ball came to Antonio, it was a really good turn to get away from Alderweireld and a really clever finish into the far corner. There's not much we can complain about for that one, but I wouldn't say we managed the game well, because we were really defensive after that goal went in. I wouldn't say we parked the bus, but it was really we were playing it safe, trying to just hold on to what we had. We weren't looking to go on and get the fourth goal. And in the end, West Ham did get a second one back in the 96th minute. I mean, when that went in, there was never really any fear that they would get the equaliser, because there was no time left, but we just fell asleep at the back. We were lucky the goal didn't go in the first place when Antonio turned, I think it was Aurier on the right hand side, and he played a really clever ball across the face of goal, and Alderweireld sticking his foot out, it was going into his own goal, and it just hit off Gazaniga's hand. He knew absolutely nothing about it and was very lucky to escape without conceding one there. But then the corner comes in, and Angelo Ogbonna with a free volley in the middle of the box. A free header from a corner is bad, but the fact that it actually dropped to his feet and he was able to volley it is really worrying, and it just shows the work that Mourinho does still have to do. Now, apart from those 5 goals, there was 2 disallowed goals. First one for Harry Kane after just 3 minutes. It was a strange one from Kane, because when Son got the ball, Kane was never onside. He was standing 1 or 2 yards offside the whole way through. He never kind of checked his run or curved his run to try and get back in between the West Ham centre-backs before going again. But I mean, it was a good ball from Son and a good finish from Kane. Just unfortunate he was offside. But it was really good encouragement early on that we did get through West Ham so easily, and kind of set the tone for the majority of that first half, with West Ham just struggling to deal with everything we threw at them. West Ham had a disallowed goal as well. Just going into added time, Declan Rice scoring off a corner, and again, really poor defending from the corner. It was so easy, just whipped in. Haller won the header, and Declan Rice at the back post tapped it in. It was way too easy. We were lucky that he had straight offside, because it was fine margins in that one. I think with Sanchez was standing about half a yard ahead of him, and we were lucky to escape with that, because if they had got the goal then, and then the board with 6 minutes went up, it would have been a completely different end to the game, and who knows if they would have managed to find the equaliser with that one. But look, luckily in the end, obviously we did hold on to it, and it should have been a much more comfortable victory, and the scoreline in the end did flatter West Ham, but it's 3 points that matters. And after the game finished, we were gone up to 6, but the way the results have worked out over the weekend, with Wolves and Burnley both winning, and United and Arsenal both picking up points as well, we are back down to 10th, but we're only 2 points off 5th place. It's another stretch to the top 4. I think we're 7 or 9 behind Chelsea, who are sitting 4th at the moment after losing to City. But it's amazing how one win makes everything look a whole lot different, and the confidence seems to be back in that team. And if we can carry that on into the game against Olympiacos and then into the game against Bournemouth, it's just eventually just going to keep on going. It's just the next game. As Mourinho said in his first interview, it's all about that next game and just trying to win that and keep the momentum going. Now the main kind of changes that we saw with the first game of Mourinho's era was the improvement in Dele Alli was absolutely sensational. As I mentioned, it was one of his best performances in a Tottenham jersey, certainly his best in the last 18-24 months. He was linking up play really well. He was chasing down lost causes. He was winning tackles. He was everything that we've seen from him, as I mentioned, those late runs as well. Toby Alderweireld, I thought we saw a lot more passion from him than we've seen in a while. When Harry Kane scored that third goal, Alderweireld sprinted the length of the pitch to celebrate with his team, which isn't something we see from him very often, which may suggest he might have been one of those players who had fallen out with Mauricio Pochettino. But even that goal in the last minute, with the frustration that Alderweireld showed, he was absolutely furious with his team to have conceded something like that. There was a lot of passion back in him, and the inclusion of Eric Dyer is something that we're going to have to get used to. Not we're going to have to get used to, but we're going to get used to over the coming months, coming years. He is a player that Mourinho really admires, and he's the type of player, not just him personally, but the way that he does play is something that Mourinho loves. We got all this talk, mainly jokes about us potentially signing Nemanja Matic in the summer or in January, but I think Eric Dyer is a very similar player, and it may be why we won't get Matic, because he already has a ready-made player for that position. Now, the last 20 minutes of that game did show the level of the work that Mourinho still does have to do. The game management up until that point was good, but as soon as we did concede that first goal, you could see we were really nervous and just trying to hold on to what we had. Our defensive frailties were shown again, and as I already said, Antonio was causing problems from the minute he came onto the pitch. It was his strength and his presence up front was something that Sanchez and Alderweireld really struggled to deal with, but in the end we did get the win. We were back counter-attacking. That second goal that we scored wasn't the kind of normal counter-attack that you see, and that everyone, like the whole West Ham team, chasing back. They still had good numbers back there, but we broke forward really quickly and it was so clinical. 1, 2, 3 passes and Lucas is into the back post and he scored. And also we had that Lucas miss at the start of the first half, which I still don't understand how he actually managed to do what he did, but it was from a West Ham free kick, and I think it was just 3 passes. Aurier played it out to Lucas inside to Son in the centre, and he was breaking on the 2 defenders. And again, really poor defensive positioning from Cresswell. When I think it was Diop was dealing with Son, Cresswell just completely ignored the run of Lucas Moura, and there was so much space for Lucas on the right, and Son put it through Cresswell's legs. And Lucas in on goal, you're thinking, oh, he has to score. And I don't know if he even got caught in 2 minds between taking a shot or passing it, but it was a shot, but it kind of hit his heel. And it was just a really strange finish, really just kind of misjudged where the ball was, I suppose, and it just trickled harmlessly wide. And the main thing that's kind of frustrated me to a point, but also I'm kind of thinking it's something we can take advantage of, is the way everybody seems to be focusing on Jose Mourinho rather than Tottenham. And I know it's going to happen. He's one of the biggest names in world football, and coming back to the Premier League, especially to a team like Tottenham, it's going to be of interest to the media and readers and stuff like that. But as he said, the very first words in his post-match interview, he said, it's not about me, it's about the players, it's about the team, it's about the fans. And I just had a quick look about, I just looked up the result of the match to see what the match reports were, and Sky Sports headline was Jose Mourinho wins first game in charge. The BBC had Jose Mourinho's back where he belongs. The Mirror had 5 talking points as Jose Mourinho enjoys winning start. And everybody seems to be focusing on him. And I think it is something that we may be able to take advantage of, and that we kind of slide under the radar a bit and slowly creep our way back up to the table. And hopefully if people do kind of keep concentrating on Jose Mourinho and the sarcastic remarks in his press conferences or his funny moments on the touchline and stuff like that, people will kind of forget to pay attention to Tottenham, who are creeping back up and hopefully slowly making their way back into the top 4. But it is only a matter of time before they kind of just get used to Mourinho being back and just start focusing on the team again. But it was a really encouraging performance, getting that victory, and I've slowly kind of grown to not accept but to be in favour of this move to get Mourinho in. And while I'm still kind of sceptical about the long term, I think right now we do have reason to be excited. And I know it was only 1 game, but there was a lot of changes and a lot of things that we've been asking for in terms of improvement on the pitch. We did get to see in that game on Saturday. So look, again, we only have to look to the next game and hope we can go out and beat Olympiacos, and if we do, we're through to the last 16 of the Champions League, and things will start to look a lot better than they have been for the last couple of weeks. Look, as always, don't forget to leave your opinions on the game in the comment section down below. I'm going to go through all of them as well, trying to gather the general opinion of this one. I did put out a poll on my channel on Friday about whether or not I bring back that transfer talk feature. There was over 100 votes and 85% of you want it back next week rather than in January. So I'll be starting that more than likely after the Olympiacos game. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.